Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater. And one of the words that makes me cringe, that just kind of makes me die inside a little, is reboot or remake or reimagining. I don't know about you, but I am tired of it. I can handle a sequel to a 30-year-old movie, provided the sequel continues the story in a meaningful enough way. But reboots, no. Sometimes they're okay. Sometimes they're all right. Like the 2014 reboot of RoboCop was surprisingly better than it had any right to be. And I think I'm not alone in feeling that way. But when it comes to certain movies right now, certain properties, certain films, reboot always kind of circles around them. And apparently, fans really, really, really want to see a reboot of Back to the Future. To which case, I'm just going to come out and say, fuck no. And if you are part of this particular group of people that wants to see the reboot, please find the nearest cliff and jump the fuck off it. No, put my foot down on that one. I'm putting my fucking foot down on that one. And I'll tell you guys why. Because here's the thing. When it comes to watching movies in theaters now, right? One of the reasons why we see sequels and franchises and all of these attempts at the long form storytelling is because one, TV does it better, and two, people aren't going to commit as much to a new story. Right off the bat. Right off the bat. We see this in television, right? Where again, movies that are kind of promised to be sequels, if the movie doesn't do well, the sequel never happens. So people ultimately go and, well, why would I care enough to do a sequel? If they've already talked about doing a sequel, they set it up for a sequel, the sequel never happens, then they lose out on that desire, right? I want to call it like, there's like is it cortisol levels get impacted, right? It's loss. It's lost. This is what happens with TV shows too. I'm not even kidding you. You watch a TV show and it gets to the end of the season, there's a cliffhanger and you're like, oh, I can't wait for the next season of the show. Then you find out 2-3 days later, the network canceled the show because it didn't do well enough. That story remains unfinished. Those characters' journeys remained untouched and you are left with that hole. Now, that hole ultimately is what prompts you to not go and invest as much into other things. Hollywood's lack of completion, and I understand it from a business perspective, so I'm not arguing against that, is so ridiculous nowadays because they want everything to be a franchise and to be sequels across, the board or remakes because it's safe. A sequel, for all intents and purposes, is absolutely safer than an original storyline. People always bitch and moan, though. I want originality, blah, blah, blah. But they don't go and see it. And that's part of the problem, right? We're in this weird kind of paradigm shift in that regard. So the people who want this Back to the Future reboot are people who probably fall in the camp of just those that don't like to watch new original things and would rather them remake everything. No, you don't need to remake Back to the Future. Re-release it, perfectly fine. The movie's perfect as it is. You don't need to touch perfection. Go find a movie that actually could be remade, right? Like they could use an update from a previous endeavor, but they don't like to do that. They don't like to just remake something, a 1-to-1 remake. They have to reimagine it. They have to update it for the times, yada, 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 yada. But this particular Back to the Future discussion comes all from the Hollywood Reporter conducting a survey where they talked to 2,201 people about what they'd want to see remade. And roughly 74% have said that they really want to see this Back to the Future remake. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Robert Zemeckis worked in his contract that no reboot, remake, or sequel can be done while he's alive or without his involvement. So never die, Zemeckis, for multiple reasons, never die. But one day he is. He's getting up there in years, let's be fair. And when he gets up there in years, if it's likely in the next 20 years or so, there will be a reboot or remake of Back to the Future. That is just inevitable. But fans, I think, are tired of this kind of stuff. Yes, I get it. The 80s is a grand time full of grand movies that could be remade with better technology, right? But also, there's a certain love to 80s movies, a certain style to them that you won't be able to recreate today. It's like looking at 90s and 80s and 90s comedies and putting them against today. They're not the same. The style, the humor, the jokes, the content, the context of certain social eras and things like that don't fly and wouldn't fly. They try remaking American Pie today. It just won't happen. It just won't happen. But rebooting Back to the Future, if you want that, just go rewatch Back to the Future. Just go rewatch it. I don't understand it. Huey Lewis in the News still sounds the same, right? Then as now. Marty, McFly, Doc Brown, right? You know, they all sound, they don't change. Why do you want, I would prefer maybe a sequel versus a reboot. But rebooting Back to the Future is just ridiculous. It's redonkulous. It's stupidless. I made that word up. We're stupidless. And it doesn't need to happen. And the people that want it to happen, please go find another hobby. All right. I think people in the way I view it's like this. It's just, it's a loss factor, which is why it happens, right? It's a loss factor. So you've got people out there who want reboots and they want sequels because it's safe, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with Hollywood conditioning people to not trust what's coming out, you know, to not trust how things are going. Hollywood is trying to build up these franchises. They're trying to build these franchises because franchises make a lot of money. But TV does it worse, where they have a season, the show gets canceled, people are left wanting more. The more and more and more that happens, the more and more they're conditioned to not watch it right away, to not give their time to it right away, because they don't know if they can trust it. And if they can't trust it, then why invest the time? It's all psychological, man. It's all psychological. So Hollywood, if you want to not have people demand a Back to the Future reboot, actually invest times into better stories, into better characters, and into actually trusting that these stories and these characters can carry things over a span of a trilogy or 5 films or whatever. And don't take it away from fans. Give them all the movies, even if it's a financial loss up front. If you hit it gold, then all the other ones will make more money. And that's just the truth of it. So no Back to the Future reboot, better movies. Stop teasing people with good stories and then taking away sequels after setting it up after they get invested. And I think people will be okay. I think things will be fine. Anyway, what do you think about this one? Do you think that a Back to the Future reboot is a good idea? Do you think that the people who gave that was their number one thing they wanted to see, are they correct? Do you think that we ever will see a Back to the Future reboot? These are things I want to know. So please write them down in the comment section. And if you are typing up comments, go ahead and slap on a like. And then subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you want to really support the channel, check out patreon.com/MundaneMatt. Anyway, my name, of course, is Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. Have yourself a great day, guys, and peace out.